702.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
It's 23 minutes now before 11 o'clock. We started a series last week. This is a series that looks at companies that have gone through controversies, that have gone through reputational damage, if that's what you want to call it, that have survived or are trying to survive scandals. So we look at where they are now and how they are recovering. And if you have suggestions of companies you want us to look at, feel free to email us at cm@702.co.za. So that's on cm@702.co.za. We started with KPMG last week when we spoke to their CEO, Ignatius Sihole. That's the KPMG South Africa CEO. And that's because KPMG has in recent years faced significant reputational damage, and there have been client losses there as well due to the scandals involving the Gupta family, VBS Bank, and others. There are certain officials there who didn't do what they were expected to do. They were greedy and were thinking about their own pockets, and that's affected that entire company. There's so much money that has been lost. In fact, I must remember what the KPMG CEO put that amount at, but he said they've lost a lot of money as a result of all these controversies. So what we are doing today is look at Eskom, because that's another company that has also been through the most. The power utility has faced significant challenges over the years, whether it's challenges related to state capture, corruption, the financial woes, operational issues, poor management, persistent load shedding. That's what that company has gone through. And this is a company that used to really be the best of the best, used to win awards as the best entity, was quite functional. That Eskom has been on this bid to turn its fortunes around. It's got a new executive. The board has really been working hard, and they've in fact managed to achieve the longest running period of suspended power cuts in recent years. But the utility still, of course, has a long way to go in officially turning the corner on all these challenges. So we've invited Mteto Nyati, who's the Eskom board chairperson, to speak to us about this journey that Eskom has been on, what it's looking like, and what are the chances that we're going to get Eskom really fully and efficiently back on its feet. Mr. Nyati, thank you so much for your time this morning. Hi.
Hi, good morning to you and to your listeners, Clement.
So there are so many challenges that someone can think of when they discuss Eskom. But as the board, when you look at what Eskom has gone through, what are the challenges that you think have really contributed to the paralysis of Eskom as you had found it as the new board, and even the board before yours? What would be those challenges for you?
Yeah, we were called in this new board. We no longer knew in 2022, in October 2022. And one of the first things that we had to do is to take a step back and look at the company broadly and ask ourselves, what are the big issues that this company is facing? What are the systemic issues? And we have categorized them into three buckets. One is operational, second one is financial, and then the third one is around sustainability. And just to give an example, on the financial bucket is things like your balance sheet, where we've got a company that was going through a lot, sitting with a huge amount of debt. At the time, close to about 500 billion rand of debt on its books. So that's a major thing. We all know, even in our personal capacity, when you've got so much debt, you're unable to sleep at night. You're unable to do things that other people go do. So that's the big one under that category. On the operational side, is things like unreliability of our plants. That was the first one. The other one in that category was the fact that we had a culture that is dysfunctional. By that we mean that many levels. You had management that was not doing what they're supposed to do, poor discipline, not following standard operating procedures, and etc. Things like that in that category. On sustainability, it would be issues like fraud, corruption, and criminality that you would find there. So when we think about the turnaround of Eskom, it's not just about load shedding, it's about a number of things. We identified 9 systemic issues that we are all driving at the same time, Clement.
Yeah, and for some listeners, maybe, Mr. Nyati, who don't understand the kind of rot that this power utility was really taken through at inspection. I mean, Eskom was an well-oiled machine in the past. Where did it go wrong? I just want us to remind our listeners of just some of the things that happened there as a result as also of the decisions that were made by politicians that have led us to the situation that we are faced with today that requires this new management, this board to fix.
Yeah. If we go back, Clement, probably in the 2004, 2005, the big issue there is the fact that we did not there were some decisions that we should have made as a country at that time to invest in new generation capacity, and we did not do that. So that was the first big mistake that we did not do as a country with regards to Eskom. And then the second one is when we then decided, hey, we have to build new plant. We decided to rush in doing that, and we did not follow the right procedures, and we did not even have the right people in the country, because many people left South Africa who were competent in those areas, decided to go and help build plants, in particular with Dubai and all of these other countries that were investing in new generation capacity. So now we're making that decision to build, and we do not have enough of the skills in the country. Our skills have left, and we start to build. And then also you've got in that environment where there was a huge amount of corruption, you are bypassing the right ways of procurement, and you allocate contracts to people that do not have the capacity or the capability to do things. So you end up with a contract that you both Medupi and Kusile, you start with a budget and then end up finalizing those contracts. It's costing you even 3 or 4 times more than what you thought it was going to cost you. So then you end up with this whole situation of having huge debt in your book, because you have to fund the build of this Kusile that's gone beyond its budget. And the quality of those builds are also not good, because you've given suppliers that do not really know what they're doing. So then you end up in a combination of that mess. But it's all driven by poor leadership. At the end of the day, it's the leadership at number of levels that let Eskom down.
So, how's the morale like? And we'll look into what you, as the board and the management, have been able to achieve so far. But the thing about companies going through reputational damage, there be scandals, especially for a state-owned entity like that serves the public, is that it does affect the morale. It does affect the talent within the company. I mean, I know I've met people who are engineers at Eskom who never want to say that they work for Eskom, and this was during the time when load shedding was at its highest. How is company morale now, and how is that being dealt with? Is there a recovery on that front?
Yeah, I would say because the problems were leadership, they were created by leaders in the very first place. It is the answer to the problem is also leadership. You have to provide leadership in terms of this. There needs to be clarity around do the leaders understand the challenge that we're facing? So the fact that we have got a clear view of what the issues are, that gives comfort to the employees of the company, which means now that we've got people that understand the challenge, and we also got people that are able to allocate resources to tackle those challenges. That gives a sense of comfort. And we also got leaders that are transparent and are honest about the problems, what those problems are, and also have a clear plan on how to solve those problems. That also gives comfort. There's nothing worse than working in an organization where you do not know whether you are coming or going. You're asking, where are we going? Each one points in a different direction. That is frustrating for employees. The other thing that's frustrating is when you start to paint the whole organization as an organization that is corrupt or incompetent. That is demotivating to employees. So when you're analyzing the problem, you start to now say, okay, we cannot generalize. We know we've got problems here and the problems there, but the majority of the people that we have in this company are people that are committed. There are people that are loyal. There are people that are, they've got integrity, Starting from that premise, it helps. It makes the people want to be part of solving the problem, which indeed that's what has happened. And then you bring in leaders like Dan Morokane and people like Becky Ngumalo. These are leaders that are highly respected by the employees. That again helps build the trust and the commitment to saying, hey, we are going to be with you. We will support you. We are proud of being part of a team that is turning around this entity. And guess what? We know what good looks like. We have seen good, and we are going to take this company to get back to what we know we're capable of doing. So that's where we are now, where people, we've got setbacks here and there, but largely there's huge amount they're highly motivated. They know that they are capable of taking this company back to its glory days.
Yeah. After the break, we'll look at what has been done to try and get Eskom back to those glory days. What have you been able to achieve as management and the board? And what new targets are you setting for yourselves so that we again advance Eskom back to those glory days? It's going up to 9 minutes now before 11 o'clock.
7:02.
The Clement Manyathela Show.
Let's walk the talk.
8 minutes now before 11 o'clock. Let's continue with this conversation with Mteto Nyati, who's the Eskom board chairperson. This conversation is part of the series that we started last week, where we look at companies that have really been destroyed, either internally by staff, by CEOs that have taken decisions that have never worked for the company, or whether it's been destroyed by really scandals and controversies also involving their senior staff. It's happened with KPMG, it's happened with EOH, it's happened with Bain, it's happened with McKinsey. I can go on and on and on. And what we want to try to do is bring in companies, whether private or state-owned, and look at where they are now, how are they recovering. And today we are looking at Eskom because it's faced significant reputational damage. There have been so many challenges over the years with state capture, with corruption, with financial and operational issues, poor management, you name it. But under the new board and the new management, there seems to be some progress. And Mr. Nyati, speaking of progress, what progress has been made over in recent years? So what are you able to share with us? Because what we see are the practical things, right? We see, we've had a long period without load shedding. We see that as progress. But I would imagine that there are other things or targets you had set for yourself as the board and the management that you're starting to see the results of?
Yes, we are seeing progress on many fronts. The first one is you need to have a leadership that can be trusted. And it's one thing to say, okay, trust me. Or the other thing is you go and do a lifestyle audit yourself, and demonstrate that you have gone through the process. You are not corrupt. So the entire board has gone through that. And I think about 5 of us have already received our results around that. And I'm also one of those people who have been given his clearance certificate. Of course, it takes time for state security agents to go through the process, but for the entire board to have gone through that, that's a good thing. The same thing with the executive committee of the board of Eskom. They have gone through all of them. Even the new members have completed their applications and waiting for the results. And I'm also happy to confirm that Dan Marukane has received his clearance certificate as well. Mm-hmm. And this is a major thing, because if you look back 2 or 3 CEOs, they have not gone through this route. To have a CEO who can stand up in front of his own employees and say, guys, this is what I want you to do because I've gone through this myself, And if we've got a problem with that, then we need to have a separate conversation. And so creating a culture of compliance, a culture of integrity within Eskom, and leading by example. So that's the first big thing. Then the next thing is the fact that all of these investigations have been taking too long. We've got all of these problems that we're picking up around compliance and taking too long. We have a CEO in his office deciding that, okay, the investigation and forensic office, that is going to report directly to me. And I'm also going to set up under myself, meaning the CEO, a project office that is going to help drive all of these cases to conclusion so that we can drive consequence management. People that need to be fired should be fired. People that should be should be sent to jail, they must go to jail. And that kind of drive within the entity is what is happening as we speak. We keep seeing every week there's some employee that has been either arrested or fired, or this is linked to all of this work that has been done by Dan and his team. And then you look at the balance sheet. You remember I said that we're sitting at about 400 plus, close to about 500 billion. And we have been progressively driving down the level of debt. We think that in 2 or 3 years' time, we could be reaching the numbers of about 250 billion rand, which we think that's a sustainable level of debt for this size of a company. And that would be a good thing. And to have Fitch saying and that they have upgraded us in terms of credit ratings, that's a major plus for us. Having an international organization saying that, our credit rating has improved, that's a good thing for the company. Plus, of course, what you are able to see, which is the level of load shedding that you're seeing. Hopefully we'll get to a point where we just don't even talk about that now. It becomes we don't have load shedding. We are going to get to that point, but we're not there yet. So all of these are big improvements that have been happening within our organization. And we also received we were recognized as the best employer. You don't get recognized as the best employer when your employees are unhappy. To get to that point, it says a lot about the work that has been done by management to create an environment where people feel like they can come and do their best work in Eskom.
All right, Mteto Nyati, Eskom board chair, thank you so much for making time for us this morning. It's a minute before 11.